Hello and welcome to the Mentorprise Podcast, your pocket guide to mindset, motivation and mentorship.
So we've got James Buckley on today, the owner of Mantra Marketing. And this is, for me, a really special episode because as a fresh-faced graduate with a bit more hair and less of a waistline, I started in his business as a brand ambassador. And James has been the most influential person on my career to date. And he taught me how to sell. He taught me how to coach people. And to this day, he's still, one of my most influential mentors that helps me, kind of run my business. So I think today's going to be, even though I know him so well, I do think we're going to find out some stuff about James' movie that we don't know, the shit that we don't see. But I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation.
The James Buckley origin story.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Hi, Nina here. Quick disclaimer, apology. I've got a terrible cold for a few of these episodes, so if you hear me coughing, spluttering and interrupting guests with their answers, I'm sorry. Enjoy the show. James, welcome to the Mentorprise Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, in Bristol, where you ended up running a direct sales business for many of the years of your career so far.
Absolutely, yeah. I think on and off, 14, 15, no, more than that. Probably nearly, 17, 18 years I've kind of been working, in and with, people in Bristol sort of thing. So it's been, I suppose, it's where it kind of all really started for me, I guess.
Yeah. So, of course, me and Rob both know you because we've worked with you for the whole of our direct sales careers.
Yeah.
And in fact, we were joking yesterday or the day before about how on my very first day, kind of representing a charity, you were actually out with me, supporting me on that day.
I remember it vividly.
Yeah. I'm glad it was for all the right reasons, of course.
Yeah, no, I was thinking she's great.
Good. Thank you. But for those that don't know, when did it all start? When did you kind of come into this industry? Because it was a friend referral from memory.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I was working for... No, I wasn't working for my dad, actually. Me and my father fell out, unfortunately. We're best pals now. But I didn't go to university and went to what my dad called the University of Life, which was his company.
Right.
It certainly wasn't that. But he ran an engineering company. He was like a entrepreneur, set up his own business when he was a young man, and built a really successful company. Mm-hmm. And I went to work there. So I worked to start with in the stock room, kind of preparing deliveries and stuff like that.
Right.
Not to.
Is that what they trusted you with?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't break it. Well, I found ways to kind of tend to it. But then I ended up kind of moving into sort of more sales because I was working alongside my dad.
Okay.
And then we kind of had a bit of a, kind of set to, and, he kicked me out. And then I kind of went to work for a friend of mine on a building site. Right. And...
bit different.
Yeah, very different. And I was kind of up on a roof, in January, and I was picking up, kind of slate that you put on a roof. And when I couldn't kind of close my fingers to pick it up, I was kind of like, this isn't for me. So I was actually not working, and a friend of mine went off to work in this company in London. Right. And he sort of said to me, I bumped into him on a Sunday afternoon, having a drink, watching the football, whatever. And he said, start to explain, what we do, sales and marketing, and kind of presented to me, our business, what we're all doing now sort of thing. And, it sort of sounded great, sounded like a good opportunity. I had no intentions of doing it for, kind of longer than, 6 months or, just to go and,
get off the roof.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, very much so. And just try something different. I like the idea. I know it sounds strange of putting a suit on. I was sort of early 20s, had never really done that.
Yeah.
And he looked really smart and kind of dapper. And I thought, that's maybe a bit of me sort of thing. And then, sort of moved up to London, started working there. And that's when it all kind of, the journey sort of started sort of thing. So I never intentionally, I didn't apply for, sales or marketing or, kind of any sort of leadership roles. I kind of, as you say, I was personally recruited in the company by a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And sales was kind of miles away from what I kind of thought I'd end up doing. Certainly kind of, managing and leading people as well was, just never even, kind of thought of it. So I very much stumbled into, what we do, into this industry, and thankfully so.
It's quite funny how you stumbled into industry, and now, from my understanding, you're part of kind of having offices, not just in the UK, but around Europe, and even now into, even into parts of Russia and even further afield, right?
Yeah, we're in sort of like 5, about to be 6 different countries now. So yeah, as you say, from something that I kind of, was going to do over the summer, it's kind of, it's, so thankful that I kind of, got involved in it, because it's taken me on a crazy journey, travelled, all over the world, as I say, have businesses in different parts of the world now, sort of thing. So get to deal with and work with some incredible people, and travel a lot, and it's been I kind of pinch myself sometimes and look back and kind of go, hang on a minute, when's someone going to tap me on the shoulder and say it's not real?
Sorry, there's been a mistake. You shouldn't be here.
No, but
did you find it quite easy to start off with, and because I guess you initially were just on the sales side of things, right?
Yeah, no, I was quite good at sales when I first started. I was quite confident. Actually, it's interesting. I was confident within my group of friends.
Right.
So if we were out having a drink or dinner or whatever it might be, I was kind of,
the leader.
like not necessarily leader, but I certainly wasn't making up the numbers, and I was quite confident in that sort of arena. But outside of that, I was never the confident person. I was never, I wasn't kind of, no, I wasn't. But I picked up the sales side of what we do, not because I was good at sales. In fact, so back to the guy that recruited me, we used to work together, obviously, quite often, because he was my kind of mentor, and he was teaching and coaching me the sales side of what we do. And he was incredible.
Really?
I used to look at him and go, wow, I'm just never I can't talk to people like that. I'm not as articulate as that. I'm not as confident as that. I'm just not as good as he is. So he would be speaking to a very small number of people and getting some real high returns. I would just have to speak to 5 times as many people, so I always relied on kind of just working harder rather than natural ability. So when I say I picked up the sales, it wasn't because I was good at it. I just put a shift in.
Yeah, the law of averages is often spoken about.
Yeah, indeed.
When you say sales, kind of, you started in face-to-face, door-to-door sales, right?
Absolutely.
So when you first started, what were you selling?
Oh, goodness gracious me. We were doing, they were called VIP cards. Okay, so 2 for 1 is a kind of a thing now. You get 2 for 1 for free, right?
Online,
it's exactly. But 25 years ago or 24 years ago when I started, 2 for 1 was a very new concept. So what we did is we sold coupons, which would allow people to get 2 for 1 at local restaurants, at cinemas, takeaway pizza places, and it would give people discounts at different venues. And we'd sell us a little card for £20. They get their money back on the first time that they use the card, and then they get 2 for 1, for the next 6 months or whatever it was, until we came back round, basically. But yeah, it was very, very, very different to what we do now. Extremely different.
Well, but that's so different to what you were doing beforehand, from the stockroom to being on a roof to knocking on someone's door, selling them a 2-for-1 offer for their local restaurant.
Yeah.
So you said you were confident, but that might be quite daunting for some people. What kind of
petrifying.
What made you what made you knock on that first door? And
well, because someone told me to, and they were stood behind me. I didn't have any choice, otherwise I'd run off. Absolutely. I can remember the first day that I started when, the person, again, my friend was teaching me the conversation. And if there was a back door to the office, I would have run off, because he was kind of writing out what I needed to say, and sort of me to then repeat it to him. And I just, it was just, it sounds strange now, but it was just a real kind of like, I froze,
Like,
it's kind of like,
overwhelmed.
Go away, I'll be all right, leave me alone.
how long did it take you to get over that then?
You don't have time to get over it, you just get on with it.
Yeah.
So, just, but again, it's interesting. I was having a sort of similar conversation to people yesterday, and they were talking to me about kind of breaking comfort zones. And, I think that the day that you start doing things that you don't feel confident doing is when you're not learning and developing. Recently, in the past sort of like 5 or 6 years, as I've started to go into different countries and expand the business, different languages, dealing with different clients, and going into rooms and talking to people and kind of not really knowing what I'm actually doing a little bit. I know that might be strange, but figuring things out, it's definitely puts you out of that learning zone, and you're entering breaking comfort zones rather. So yeah, I think that's important. Definitely.
Brilliant. From the roofs to Russia, I like that.
Yeah.
So we, as you probably heard some of our previous podcasts, we have the same question for every single guest, and that's the 3 M's.
Okay.
Mindset, motivation, and mentorship.
Yep.
So as you've been in the industry for now for a good amount of time, and you've, as you said, expanded to different countries, you've broken comfort zones, you've kind of had to put yourself in stressful situations and been in situations, as you just said, that maybe you didn't really know what you were doing.
Yeah.
So how does mindset kind of, how do you use mindset, and what does that mean to you?
Oh, how long have you got? Yeah, it's such a kind of big question, isn't it? I think, there's lots of different things, but I'll kind of go through kind of what my mindset is. I think that it's really important to make sure that, you do things properly, and you do things thoroughly, and you're diligent in what you do. So many people are rushing around and chasing the shortcuts and trying to cut the corner to get to their, end destination in the shortest space of time, where actually, if you just do things properly and
the first time.
Yeah, exactly. You don't end up just repeating it again and again and again. You've heard me say this a million times. It's like, when you go to school, if you don't do your homework properly, what happens? You get it thrown back at you, and you either have to do it again or you go into detention, right? So, I learnt that just do it properly the first. I didn't learn, actually. That's me telling fibs. But definitely that's carried through. So do things properly. Do things the right way, because people are always watching you, especially if you're leading people, and you're, setting the right example through your leadership. Be conscious and aware that people are always watching what you do, which is a really good thing if you do things the right way. It's a really good thing if you're diligent. It's really good if you're proud about what you do. Obviously, on the other hand, if you're not and you don't care and you're looking for that shortcut, then people will copy that, and then there's no depth, if you're trying to build something that's going to last a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
So your mindset is definitely of, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it probably the first time, I'm going to put lots of effort into this. And do you feel that kind of gives you confidence in what you're doing? Does that kind of make you feel a bit more kind of grounded or leveled?
Yeah, I just think it's the only way I kind of really know. I look at, people that are doing things not the right way and cutting corners, and it just screams failure, and it doesn't make any sense to me, because actually you get there in a shorter space of time anyway, because you don't end up kind of repeating the job again and again and again, if that makes sense. So I definitely think, I believe in what I do. I'm confident in what I do. I care about what I do. The other thing as well is care about the people that you work with, care about your business. If you look after your people and you look after your business, it will look after you in the long term. So, I'm the last to get rewarded, and then everyone else succeeds around me, then the benefactor of that is obviously, myself and my business and my family.
We were chatting to someone else about how sometimes you look at people further along in their careers, or maybe in the position that you would like to be in further down the line, and you think that it's always been an upward trajectory. So talking about mindset and about doing things right the first time, has that always been the case for you, James? Have you been, or have you had to relearn that mindset a few times?
100%. Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, and again, another mindset to answer that question is that, if you're going on a journey, there's going to be challenges thrown at you, in your family life, in your personal life, in your business life, career, whatever it might be. And, those challenges either make or break you, don't they? And the first thing is, I think, that embrace those things, challenges are good. You know, challenges are there to be met, and you know, I guess really just it's difficult. I think that, you know, throughout certainly at the start of my career, you know, when I was probably 4 or 5 years into running my own company, you know, managing my finances and managing my time and just managing my life kind of as I started to expand became, you know, kind of a real challenge for me. And I took a lot of lessons throughout that period. But again, these are all things that have happened that have kind of turned me into and my business into what it is today.
Yeah.
So, you know, challenges are not meant to happen, but they happen for a reason, I believe. So it makes, you know, if you're running a business and building an organization, you're trying to build something, most of your time is going to be dealing with problems, dealing with challenges.
Yeah.
So the way that you do that and your ability to do that, I think, is going to determine ultimately how successful you are. You know, I'm very much up for dealing with challenges and solving problems because that's the majority of my work is. You know, people don't ring me up and go, "Hey James, just ringing you because everything's going fantastic and I just wanted to touch base with you to let you know," right? It's, "Hey James, how you doing? This is the problem I've got. This is the challenge you've got. Have you been there before?" That's a lot of what my job entails. So being good at that and enjoying that,
being, you know, a fixer.
And you've heard me say this before, love the bullshit, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know, you get thrown so much stuff and so many challenges, just enjoy it, you know?
And the more the more bullshit you're having to deal with, potentially,
that's
the better
right,
you're
Nina.
doing.
The bigger the pile of bullshit, the bigger the rewards.
So if we kind of go back to, I'm not sure, it was like 20-year-old James that first started in the sales industry, you would have been either in kind of private site or kind of door-to-door sales, right? What part did motivation kind of play in you being successful? Because obviously sales is the first thing that you have to overcome and understand. So what did motivation do for you?
To start with, in sales, just having a good time at the weekends, you know, enjoying life, being able to go and buy the clothes that I wanted to buy, and being able to go out and do what I wanted to do. You know, I didn't kind of have, you know, big long-term goals when I first started the business because I didn't think I'd be doing it 6 months later. But, you know, I made great money. And also as well, I really enjoyment's important. You know, I wouldn't have stuck around at what we do if the environment wasn't right. You know, I joined an office with 80 or 90 people working in it, and it was fun. You know, I used to love walking into that office in the morning because it just isn't like work. You know, there was such a buzz and feel-good factor around the room, and, you know, the people there were like-minded. You know, they were just good to be. It's just a good environment. It wasn't, you know, no one stood over you, looking over your shoulder, and you sat at a desk. It was just a really great environment. That's actually the real reason I stuck around.
The atmosphere.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and also I felt that I was learning skills as well. And I think this was a subconscious thing. I don't think that I'd say it kept me around or made me stay, but I was learning and developing. And when I used to go home, actually, and speak to because, you know, obviously I moved from Cheltenham, which is where I was, you know, grew up, moved to London and worked in the office there. And when I used to go back, which would be, you know, kind of once a month or, you know, someone's birthday or whatever it might be, you know, people were like, "Wow, you're like, what's happened to you?"
Oh,
you know,
really?
you're like, you know, you're like turbocharged, James. You know, you're like, you know, you've grown a little bit. You're talking, you know, I just became, you know, confident. So I was personal development, but I didn't know that was subconscious. If I don't know if that sort of
relevant. It's a product of your environment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, just making good money and enjoying where I was working because it just still doesn't feel like work today, to be honest with you. Very fortunate in that respect. But it was just good fun to go and work in that office, and I made great money. And then what happened is that seeing's believing, right? Because they were always talking from day one about expanding. You know, that was very much the agenda: expansion, new cities, new countries, new products, new campaigns, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I listened to all of that, but didn't hear it, if that makes sense, because I was like, they're not talking to me.
Right.
You know, I'm just here to do some sales, have a bit of fun.
Good for you, yeah.
You know, we'll go out the weekend, happy days. And then what happened is when I started to not just listen to it, but hear it and take it in, is when I saw people actually that started, you know, in and around the time that I had, taking on more responsibility. And then ultimately, the guy that recruited me got to go and run an office in a new city in Leicester. And they were putting their hands up, and you know, sort of, they were asking people to put their hand up and say, "Look, you know, we're looking for a small team of people to go and, you know, pioneer this new city and you know, kind of set up the business there, sort of thing." And if I'm really honest, the reason that I put my hand up is because it was halfway home, so I wouldn't have to travel so far when I was going back to Cheltenham. But what happened is through that process, I saw the business happen. I saw the expansion, and actually being involved in that new office setup and being around, seeing that new office go from a small team of people, you know, to 20, 30 people in a relatively short space of time. I went, hang on a minute, I could do this.
Yeah.
No problem. Yeah, let's give it a
So
go.
in the early days, it was very extrinsic factors. You know, it was kind of things like your weekend and buying nice clothes. But then as your career developed, it was more about kind of, hey, career focuses and progression development.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, it's seeing's believing. You know, I kind of, that whole sort of experience really switched me onto the business. And I was floating around, just as I said, making great money through sales. But then I kind of, the flick switched, and I kind of started to do things a little bit differently. Not massive differently. I just focused I focused on, you know, kind of trying to become a better leader, you know, trying to, you know, get involved in that side of the business and
Got your head down.
started coaching people and, you know, and that kind of stuff. And I found that quite straightforward, you know. Just again, if you're talking about mindset and principles, I just, you know, worked really hard because I wasn't the person that was the great person at sales, if that makes sense. I had to work hard to do it. What I actually found is people would copy my work ethic. People would copy my attitude. So the average person would come in and succeed. Whereas, you know, the guy that was incredible at sales, it was difficult to copy that. So I found that actually, me not being the superstar, you know, benefited me when I was kind of, you know, got involved in the team building side of what we do.
Yeah.
And how about, I want to go back to what you said about kind of dealing with challenges and frustrations and dealing with the bullshit, as you mentioned, right? So kind of how do you use motivation when you're in those kind of stressful situations when your back's against the wall or things aren't going the way you want to go?
How do I use motivation?
Yeah. Or does motivation help you get through those times, or are you more of the kind of person that says, I'm just going to crack on anyway?
Well, yeah, absolutely, because I think you know, that you don't have any other choice, do you? You either get on with it or it beats you, right? And as I said before, it's a big part of what we do. I think that, you know, being focused and determined and driven and all those things that you hear all day, every day, you know, these days sort of thing are obviously important things. And I think it's easy to deal with stuff if you're focused. And, you know, I feel that I'm very focused. You know, you always kind of wind me up because you say that I'm so intense sometimes. And I do feel that I'm, you know, focused and intense. But I'm intense about achieving my goals, you know, making sure that, you know, I set my family up properly and all that kind of stuff sort of thing. So I'm very passionate about that. And that's super, super important to me. So that keeps me focused. So having a goal gives me the focus. And when I'm focused, everything just falls into place.
Yeah.
It just all happens. You deal with all the crap head on. In fact, you just munch it up because it's just for fun, right? But when you're not focused because you don't have a goal, you don't have a reason, everything starts to chip away at you. You know, so I don't know if that answers even the original question sort of thing. That's definitely, having that focus is so important, because I know myself as well. You know, and I'm not sitting here saying that I'm focused, you know, 24 hours of the day, you know, or, you know, 365 days of the year. You know, I sometimes lose my focus because I lose sight of my goals. So getting that focus back is really important, because that's when dealing with the challenges becomes easy and straightforward.
I completely agree. And so many people do lose their focuses but struggle to get it back. So what kind of things do you do? Because you are human, you lose
Absolutely.
focus. And
Yeah, totally.
I know you really well, and you lose focus quite easily sometimes.
Well, yeah.
But what are the hacks to get your focus back? Because that's what most people struggle with.
Okay, so it's the importance of what you're working towards, right? Okay, and this will change over your life, as you've known me very well. 15 years ago, the most important thing to me was the car that I was driving. I've got absolutely no interest in cars whatsoever these days because there's more important things to me now, But it's having that thing that's super important to you, like, providing a, great education for my kids, making sure that they're in a comfortable environment, making sure that they've got good opportunities in the future, making sure that they are happy, okay, making sure that I'm able to spend time with them, not just working, okay, because it's all great making lots of money, but you need time to spend it and invest it, and and spend time with your loved ones. So I think that having that really, really, really important goal that just means that so many people kind of go, oh, my goal is this, but it's a bit throwaway. I want to buy that house, or I want to buy this car, or I want to send my kids to this school, or I want to travel to this country. It's just it's more of an idea, and that is an idea, and ideas don't really turn into anything. But if it's a really clear focused goal, and it's really important, then I think that it's very easy not to lose your focus.
So James, we'll have a lot of listeners that are leaders right now, mentors right now, that are currently kind of coaching, supporting people on a daily basis. We'll also have some listeners that are maybe embarking in the near future on that role of leadership and starting to coach and develop people. Would love to kind of get some advice from you. What do you think makes people great mentors?
Doing what you say you're going to do is important, because it's, if someone's asking you for help and is looking for investment or whatever it might be, I think that following up what you promise. I've worked with lots of different mentors and have lots of different people that influence me, and lots of people that I've tried to go on that journey with that have just let me down because they've not kind of not backed up what they're going to say, which is disappointing, but happens. So from the other point of view, if that does happen, just keep looking for the next person. Keep trying to find the right person. Not every single mentor works out. You're going to have lots of good mentors, and you can have some people that just let you down and don't inspire you in the end. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just finding the right people. You don't meet the first girl and get married, and well, some people do, but not me, unfortunately. But did you know what I mean? It's finding the right person.
So you might get a mentor that kind of gets you to a certain level,
100%.
But then you need someone that's going to take you to the next level.
Absolutely, definitely. And you might outgrow your mentors. I've had lots of people that have mentored me in the past that I now mentor, if that makes sense. So people that I learned loads of great skills early on in my career, but I've kind of outgrown them, if that makes sense, and kind of gone on to do different things, and then they've turned to me for help and encouragement, guidance, and mentorship sort of thing. So yeah, other things I think that to be a good mentor is to be honest with people, because I think that sometimes it all get a bit fluffy and it's all a bit like, it's all great. So it's not. If it's not, it's like, me, I don't. Sometimes I get criticised for it, but it's important to be direct, cut through the shit a little bit, because we haven't got time, right?
How do you have that balance of kind of, because with your mentor, you've
want to be
got to have a relationship with them,
and
you don't necessarily have to love them and be best friends, but you want to almost enjoy talking to that person.
100%.
So how do you have the balance as a mentor of being direct, being honest, but also still making sure that person wants to call you next week?
Well, you can still be nice and honest, right? When I say I'm direct, I'm not screaming.
Or you're not rude.
No, absolutely not. And again, the setting up of the whole situation at the start of things is you're making sure that and I think actually having a good friendly relationship is important, because if you don't get on with the person that's mentoring you, that's not going to work either. You have to like them, and you have to kind of have that good relationship in the first place, or certainly be like-minded. But they also have to be able to be direct, but you don't need to be a plonker, to be direct. It's just being honest, you know.
So you mentioned the setup then of it all. So if we've got kind of mentors listening in right now that are going to start coaching somebody next week or next month.
Sure.
When you say the setup, is that kind of like, hey, this is what I'm going to provide you, this is what I want back from you, or?
Yeah, absolutely. You're going into a kind of business arrangement in many ways. So you need to set out expectations for both parties. You need to set expectations, because also what you might find is if the person that's mentoring you is too busy to mentor you and too busy to give you what you need, you'll need to find someone else.
Yeah.
So you don't want to kind of stumble straight away and pick the wrong mentor.
Or think that mentoring doesn't
exactly,
work.
yeah, because great point, Nina. Because it could put you off, entirely. So I think the setup at the start and saying, right, what's your expectations from me and what's my expectations from you?
Yeah.
If you're talking as the person being mentored, you want to be asking, how often can I contact you? Can we have set times so it happens? What's the best form of communication? Do you want me to WhatsApp you before we set up a call, email? What's, sorting out all of these things so it works. And then the other way around, if I'm mentoring people, it's important that, I can kind of say, because what you want to do is give people the right advice. That's the important thing. You don't want to tell them what they hear. And very often the right advice is not what they want to hear, because it's saying change something and do something differently.
Yeah. Well,
right?
'cause we were chatting, I can't remember who said it, but about how you look at it's not your fault. This is the reason I'm not doing well is because this person did this, or I'm in this situation, and all of those things. So in a mentoring relationship where they go, well, have you considered that maybe this could be what's going wrong that you're doing? And they're like, oh no, I never considered it was myself.
No, absolutely. But that's and being able to have that conversation, without having to worry about it, is important if you're mentoring people, because otherwise, what's the point? That the whole conversation and the point behind it is that person developing and learning new skills and growing and becoming better. So you grow through learning. You get better through learning new things. You get better and grow through changing the way you do things. And do things in a more efficient, better way.
So you mentioned about, you've been mentored and had relationships with lots of people that have supported you and probably helped you progress in your career. Are there any bits of advice that you really remember being given that stay with you or stuck with you to today?
Not advice, more things that I've seen. Okay. My parents have been a huge influence on me. My parents, they split up when I was young. So, I'm talking, as a toddler. So never really knew them together. And used to go and spend time with my dad. And my dad used to work on he ran his own company, but he used to live in a small holding, like a tiny, tiny little farm, and have horses and all that kind of stuff, right? And I hated it at the time because, we'd kind of rock up there on a Friday and...
you have to do some work, would you?
Work? You've got no idea. We'd be up at 6 o'clock in the morning and we would be, wheelbarrowing, mucking out, till lunchtime. Sun, rain, shine, whatever the weather. Yeah. It was, right, roll your sleeves up, boys. You got to earn your lunch.
Sounds like you got your work ethic from your dad then.
Well, okay, so it's interesting. Okay, so that was the visible thing, because I used to see that, and my dad was very much, you need to learn how to, if you're going to dig a hole, I can dig it harder. And, he was very much about kind of, he's a proper grafter. He's retired. He's been retired for ages. And, go around to his house now and he's putting fence posts up in the fields, that you could do with a machine if you rented it, but he won't. He wants to dig it himself. And he's like nearly 80 years old. It's just stupid, but just loves working hard. That's his thing. So I've definitely seen that. However, the kind of invisible work ethic that I didn't see but learnt about later probably had a much greater impact on me. Because I went to live with my mum. Okay, get emotional now. I went to live with my mother and grew up with my mum. And my mum, you've met my mum. She, she passed away now, but she was very quiet, very kind of dainty. Just a lovely, 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 quiet, amazing little tiny human being, right? And I never knew that mum had a job.
Right.
And actually, when I was kind of, at my teens, I was like, hang on a minute, who pays for all this
What
stuff?
does she do?
Yeah. But basically, my mum would walk us to school in the morning, drop us off, and unbeknownst to her, she had 3 different jobs that she was doing throughout the course of the week. And when we went to Dad's, she was working throughout the course of the whole weekend. And I never really knew that until I was getting told off by my dad, and my dad turned around and says, "You don't realise what your mother's doing for you." And that was a really, kind of like, it's strange to describe, but it was a unsung hero kind of like lesson to me. Like, wow, that's incredible, because she was grafting but didn't want her boys to know.
I see.
Do you know what I mean? So it's cool, right?
Well,
I like my dad's there dig holes, and I was like, and I always looked up to my dad, and kind of he was my mentor and he was my hero, but actually, mother ever so much, not more, but just in a different.
Do you know what's really
way.
interesting, right?
Go on.
Simon Sinek talks about kind of how your why is so important, but he talks about to find your why, you need to understand where you're from.
Yeah.
And I know you very well.
Yeah.
One of your biggest strengths is work ethic, right?
Yeah.
And you said, if you dig a hole, dig it even,
harder, deeper.
even deeper, right?
Yeah.
But it comes from where you're from. You were brought up in an environment that work ethic was just normal, and it was done. Your father was maybe the showman that showed digging the hole, but your mum did it behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But
you got the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah, but you are what you come from, right?
And also you are what, even though I didn't see you are what you see. People do what you show them, not what you tell them.
Yeah.
So no one's taught me to have a good work ethic. I've just seen my parents have that. Okay, and then actually, I said I worked on a building site for 6 months, and James, my best friend, he's had a huge influence on my life. He's been I'm not going to give him the credit of being a mentor, but he's a good friend. He might listen to it, so I'm not going to. But his work ethic, insane. And I saw that for that period as well. And the guy that recruited me into the company, his work ethic was just incredible as well. So very fortunate in that respect.
So your circle of people are really kind of
grafters.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, yeah.
But also, you mentioned earlier about how your reasons to work hard now are different from when you were younger, and you mentioned your children and your family and wanting to do right by them. It sounds like with your mum, we're doing these 3 jobs, but not throwing it in your face, as it were. She
didn't want. She didn't want any credit for anything. She was kind of like a quiet achiever, I guess.
Yeah.
Incredible woman.
But to do it for you, because that was her reason. It wasn't to do it to look good.
She's like the person that donates, a load of money, but doesn't put her name down because she doesn't want people to know, because she doesn't want the fuss.
Very, very humble.
Which is, cool.
Go on, Mum.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Don't be careful, I'll start crying.
I think I know what you're going to say here, but we often kind of can see why people are successful because we hear them, we see them do things. But there's often things that they're successful, but no one sees. So your mum, you kind of mentioned your mum there, right?
Yeah.
But what are the kind of things that maybe James has done over the last kind of 20 years, let's say, that have helped you become the person you are today and help the people around you that maybe they don't see? It's not the flashy stuff. It's not the stuff they see every day.
Oh, good question. The stuff that I do...
The shit that no one sees, yes.
Right, okay. So actually, I was going to say lists, but you see me write lists all day, every day, don't you?
Yeah.
So I think as I've sort of taken on more, responsibility, opened up new businesses, not just in, our industry, but, in other industries, property and, invested in those ways and, certainly getting involved working in different countries as well. Time has probably become the most scarce commodity in my life, which is inevitable if you're going to run a successful business. I think that's important to understand. If you're going to be successful, you have to put the time in. And I think the thing that you need to make sure that you get right, and I do this and spend a lot of time doing it, that enables it not to all go wrong. Because if you spend so much time doing something, it puts pressure on other things, puts pressure on relationships, it puts pressure on spending time with your kids. I meet so many people that are really successful, but just miserable, and just like they've got this big pot of money in the castle that they live in and all that kind of stuff, but they don't get to spend any time with their family, and they don't get to travel, and they don't get to do all the cool stuff that we work hard for because they're so busy working. I work, me, I put a shift in, but my time management is become excellent, because it's had to be, because otherwise I can't spend, I have loads of time for my family. I have loads of time for, kind of going out and traveling and doing nice things. I work intensely hard when I'm in work so that I can enjoy my time out of work and, most importantly, have that time. So the things that you won't see me do is how much time I actually spend planning, sitting down and kind of going, right, so this happens there, that's got to be done by this time, this needs to be, and just just being busy. I work a lot from home now, but travel, around, to different offices and mentor different people. The amount of work that I do when I'm on my way somewhere, the amount of work that I do when I'm at home, is it is a lot, because it's important that it is, because otherwise I don't get the time, to do all the cool stuff, right?
I suppose it's that kind of the luxury of being an entrepreneur and running your own business, is that because you can work harder in a shorter space of time to give yourself that time back, whereas if you were contracted to work X amount of hours,
absolutely,
it wouldn't really make a difference.
No, totally. I think that one thing that I have definitely got good at is cramming a lot into a short space of time.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm kind of
in and out,
but I'm kind of a bit bullish in that respect. As in, I'm like, come on, we need to get, because I'm conscious that we just got to get shit done, right? Because when you're at work, you're working and you put everything into it. When you're at home and you put everything into it. And that's.
So
I don't know if that answers the questions, but you kind of get what I'm saying.
How much do you value time off then, or
what's the most
how much do you value valuable time off? Because Richard Branson talks about working incredibly hard.
Yeah.
But having things that you're looking forward to doing when you are taking time off, and not taking time off and just sitting in bed.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, no, because no, definitely not. I've always got stuff to look forward to. That's the part of, being an entrepreneur. You work hard so that you can do, great things. Being able to, I think I mentioned this before, being able to, make sure that my kids are in a comfortable environment, and also, being able to travel with them and take them to different countries and and do nice things and take them, like 2 weeks ago we're on a boat off the south coast of Spain, dolphin watching, and the look on their face when the dolphins are swimming under the boat and jumping, and that's like
pretty special.
Yes, well, I mean, again, I keep saying, me, not my kind of thing, right? It's like, but actually, when I was there, I was like, hang on, we need to do more of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, having stuff to look forward to is. Yeah.
Do you find that kind of, because you are so intense and because you do work a lot, right? And if you're not in the UK, traveling to office in the UK, you're on Zooms or you're on the plane to different countries. You are intense and you do cram a lot into your days.
Yeah.
But do you find when you do these rewarding things and you travel with your kids, or you do valuable things with your time off, do you find that recharges your batteries quicker than just going down the pub or just being
definitely.
at home?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, look, I love being at home as well. I love, you don't have to go away to have a great time. I love being out at home. Fortunately, got a great place that we live in, and the kids can, run around, and we don't have to worry about them going outside. It's being at home is actually probably my favourite place if I'm honest. The food there is amazing, as you know, Rob.
Hey, your chimichurri is pretty banging, yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, I think just time with people that your friends and your family is the important thing. I don't work longer than anyone else, I don't think, as in hours. I don't start at 5 o'clock in the morning and finish at midnight.
You're not Mark Wahlberg.
No, absolutely. Oh my God. No, well, you can see that I'm not Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, definitely not. One day. Okay.
I'm just going to be like,
next week.
For those listening to the podcast, we'll describe James. No,
don't be mean. As I say, I don't start at 5 and don't finish at 12. I start at kind of 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. because, the countries that I'm in are a couple of hours ahead, so it kind of fits in quite nicely, because then it rolls into the UK. And then I'll work through till, kind of 5, 6 o'clock. So I'm not, it's just what I get done in that time, and what you don't see is why I can do that.
Yeah. Okay, so our last question for everyone is to do with their core values, because every business has their own, and we'll kind of put them up on the wall. But what are James Buckley's core values?
My core values, okay. Going to kind of repeat a lot of what I've talked about already, I guess, because it's kind of part of my, DNA or makeup of me, my company, whatever. But do things right, do things properly. I think it's really important. I've got immense pride in, kind of what I do and what I'm building and what I'm trying to achieve. Look after people. I think it's really important. We're in a people industry, right? That's our commodity. That's our, that's what we do. Without great people, we don't have a great business. So make sure that you look after the people that you work with, for, or, your staff, whatever it might be. Make sure that you look after people is really, really important.
When you say look after them, is it looking out for them to see where you can support them, or
everything?
Yeah,
just be nice. Just like you look at kind of leaders and people that are building businesses. I think if you look at most of them, they're actually really, it's important they look after and care for people, and because they look after and care for people, I think, what's the saying? I saw it written on a wall, actually, saying core values in someone's office the other day, and it was brilliant. It was bosses have the title, leaders have the people.
Yeah.
Right? Okay? And I think that good leaders have people because they look after people.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to me. And also, it's just nice to be nice. I know that the people that I work with and the people that work for me will run through walls for me because I've done the same for them in the past. It's reciprocal. It's and again, I use that word work for me, which I don't like. I work with people. Fran. I think she's done one of these.
She has.
She got invited before me, didn't she? So I'll bring that up. But Fran, I've worked with for sort of 20 years now, and we're partners. She doesn't work for me. I pay her. But we run the business together. She's my partner.
Well, I was going to say that Fran's whole kind of like superpower is caring for people, isn't it? That she's always looking how to support and help people. So I suppose if the two of you have that as core values together.
Well, actually, I'm going to give her the credit. That's when I started, when I was younger, that wasn't the case.
Were you looking after James initially?
I did this for me.
Yeah.
I did this for... When I first started to build my business, it was all about me. I'll be honest, right? It was about what car I could have, what house I could live in, what I could get, okay? And, when I changed that attitude and went, do you know what? Actually, I need to show other people how to be successful. I need to teach other people how to hit their goals and help them hit their goals, because that's when the big reward comes from me. And really, working and being around Fran has helped me understand that. So even though she works with, for whatever you want to call it, she's mentored me in that way. There's lots of things that I've learned from her, and working with her, that she just sets, she sets a better example than I do, in a lot of things, sort of thing. So, but I've always been there for Fran. I always look after Fran. I'll run through a brick wall for Fran.
Yeah.
It's reciprocal. So I think look after, be there for your people, and you'll get that back tenfold.
It's quickly becoming a theme amongst the people we're talking to.
Is that right? Is it interesting?
Yeah, just genuinely caring for someone else's outcome and not having your own agenda. I think it's been
it's cool
thing.
Seeing, again, we're sort of telling old stories now, but if I go back to, kind of when Rob first went to Swindon, how kind of proud and how kind of amazing it is to see someone like Rob now and you guys together, building your organisation and going from, managing that one office and running that one business to, now being in multiple cities. Your turnover as a group will have gone up by probably 1,000% in the last 5 years, I imagine.
Yeah.
I'm guessing numbers, but it's probably around that. And, and kind of, you guys are just getting that momentum. So where you're going to be in 12 months' time, it's exciting for me to see that. It's exciting for me to see that, little angry Rob in my office when he first started, that used to drive everyone crazy, is now running podcasts.
Big angry Rob.
Yeah. I can't. I don't know why, but you seemed. I don't know, but yeah,
I've got bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we've all got bigger, but to see what you guys have achieved, how cool is that? You guys, met me and kind of didn't know anything about this industry, and now you're taking it to places, far and beyond. So it's a great story.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's a great place to end it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But James, thanks so much for coming in today. I know you're a busy man.
Good. Yeah, really enjoyed
some great value there, and really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So Nina, that was great. I thought that was really, really interesting. And so James mentioned about kind of Fran that kind of works with James, the CEO of Mantra. And she spoke on her episode all about, if you're going to do something, like do it properly, like give a shit. And James there, saying exactly the same thing. If you're going to do something, do it properly, put effort into it.
Do it right the first time.
Yeah, do it right the first time. And what I found really interesting is the younger James cared about the cars, the house, and was maybe in it for him. But successful James now is actually more about the fulfilling things of like seeing others achieve, helping his family. And I think that's kind of, definitely, we're in a place now, with a young child and a second on the way that kind of, you're now seeing when you're doing things for other people, it's so much more fulfilling and it's so much more motivating.
Yeah.
And I think it's so much easier to be focused when you do have maybe these intrinsic kind of motivators.
I find it just interesting to see where, like, how people have been shaped, like him talking about seeing his dad work in a certain way than his mum, and kind of like how all of these people along the way have kind of helped. Have you ever seen that film, The Adjustment Bureau?
Years ago, yeah.
Where it's like everyone's on a path and the people you bump into along the way will kind of eventually get you to where you want to be. And it is a kind of a long story of that. But again, you just, like, before having that chat, I would have just seen James as the direct sales, kind of entrepreneur, not that one.
Well, and he mentioned he wasn't, he was confident, but not the most confident. He picked up sales relatively easily, but he wasn't the best. And I think for me and probably other listeners as well, that resonates with me, because I wasn't the best at when I started, but I did work hard. Yeah. And I think one of the things in our industry is you don't need to have, a silver spoon. You don't need to be super charismatic. You don't need to be a natural, but you do need work ethic. Yeah. And if you don't, you can have all the potential in the world, but if you don't work hard, things are stacked up against you. So I love the fact, the story about his dad, at nearly 80 years old, still, digging holes with a spade when he doesn't have to. And the stories, of his mum, in complete secret going out with 3 jobs and, and working a butt off for the children, but not wanting any praise from it. And that kind of work ethic, I think, really trumps all. So,
when I was in his office, I remember there was a point where I must have done a personal best in sales for a week or something. And I think he was kind of promoting and kind of giving me some recognition in the office. And I remember him saying, because Nina's not the most gifted at sales, but she works so hard. I remember at the time, but I'm not that bad. Yeah. Like, come on. But then understanding that he really values work ethic and that's how he's succeeded, I suppose he saw that was a characteristic that you can work with. So,
yeah, great content. Loved it.
Thank you very much for listening to the Menterprise podcast. We want to give some recognition to people that have made this happen. We want to thank Luke and the rest of his team at Access Creative College who have given us access to these fantastic facilities, and also to Edward Collis Films for all things to do with videography.